Hi, welcome back to another Insider. Let's talk gadgets. And today we are talking about two very essential parts of an aircraft that recently have been in the news because obviously of that fatal crash of Air India flight AI 171. Again, I'm not speculating. I'm not going into details of that crash itself. I am just going to talk about these two parts, which are the flaps and slats. So come with me and let's talk gadgets. So let's talk about the flaps and the slats. The flaps and the slats are two essential parts of the aircraft. They play a pivotal part in the landing and taking off, which, as you know, are the most important and dangerous parts of flying an aircraft. When it's on cruise altitude, I would say it's the safest part. It's on taking off and landing that things may really go wrong. I'm not saying that they don't go wrong in cruise altitude. They do, and we had a lot of crashes where that happened. But it is more likely that the pilots can come out of an issue in cruise altitude than when they are taking off or landing, because usually altitude plays a part and speed, etc., etc. So I think these are very, very important. And of course, the flaps and the slats are a pivotal part of these two processes, the takeoff and the landing. And for each one of these parts, they are deployed differently. As you can imagine, when the plane is taking off, you want lift. When the plane is landing, you don't want that lift. At the end, you just want the plane to go slow and land safely. So let's see what these are. These have been on the news lately because of Air India crash, and the first images that we have of the aircraft crashing, unfortunately, we can clearly see that the flaps and the slats were not deployed and the rat was out. So the first opinions and the first information gathered from that crash was that had been an electrical failure in the aircraft because the rat was out. However, now we need to know, and obviously the flaps and slats were not deployed properly, so it might also be associated with this electrical malfunction. We don't know. Recently, there's been the preliminary report that says that also there has been found that the fuel switches were off, so the fuel have been switched off and the two engines were depleted of fuel, apparently. There's also been said that from the cockpit voice recorder, it was heard one pilot asking the other pilot why he had switched the fuel switches off, and the other pilot apparently replied he didn't. So this is what has been released in this preliminary report. However, nothing has been conclusive. There is no final report. The investigation is still ongoing, and of course this information, although it's been used by the media to inflate and all sorts of and create all sorts of speculation, this is not the final report. This is not the final investigation. There's more to be investigated. Yes, this is some information that has been released, but now everything needs to be connecting the dots, obviously, getting all this information together, and then putting out the final report with what it is believed was the cause of this terrible crash. So we don't know yet. We don't know if it was a malfunction within the aircraft, if it was pilot error. We don't know. So I am not going to preempt that. I am not going to point out one or another. This is just what has been released, the information that has been released. And obviously, I'm not going to go into speculation. I already said that. I don't think it's appropriate, and I don't think it suits any purpose. Today, I'm talking about the flaps and the slats because it was something that was spoken and seen in the footage in regards to this crash, and they are two very important parts of the wing that really make a difference on a takeoff and landing. They actually, in my view, allow the takeoff and landing. So the slats are located at the leading edge of the wings and the flaps on the trailing edge of the wing. So both flaps and slats move along metal tracks built into the wings. So, and they retract and contract according to obviously what the pilots intend them or set them to be. As I said, I would dare to say that they allow the takeoff and landing to happen. So how are they deployed? I'm reading my notes. And as I said, I took this information from a NASA website. I'll leave the link below so you can also access the information and do your research as well if you want. So the flats and slats are obviously deployed differently for takeoff and landing. And it's a no-brainer. In a takeoff, you want lift. In landing, you want a control landing. You want slow and controlled fall, so to speak. So it's obvious that they need to be deployed in a different setting because they will be doing a different job. On takeoff, as I said, we want the aircraft to gain altitude. We want lift. So we want speed and altitude. Whilst on landing, we want the aircraft to slow down. So what do these parts do and how do pilots set them? They help increase and decrease the shape of the wing. So increase the wing, the flaps and slats, or decrease the wing. It depends. Which also causes the airfoil to increase or decrease. The slats will create lift and the flaps will increase drag. So the slats at the top will increase lift and the slats at the bottom will increase drag. So the balance between the two allows the planes to take off and landing. So these are the two things that the pilots use to maneuver the aircraft in order to take off and land the aircraft. For takeoff, pilots want the aircraft to gain altitude. So the aim is to have high lift and long drag, because we don't want drag, we don't want anything to slow down the aircraft. It's exactly the opposite. We want the aircraft to lift and gain altitude so the pilots can reach that altitude, cruise altitude, and start the flight. So for that, the pilots set the flaps downward in a moderate setting, so flaps downward, and on landing they want a high lift at the start and high drag, so both flaps and slats will be fully deployed for landing. For landing, then after landing, they want to kill that lift. And another essential part comes to play, which are the spoilers and also the inverters. There are those huge things at the back of the engine that will get the air there and allow actually allows the aircraft to stop. So that was the inverters as well. Makes a lot of noise, and I'm pretty sure you have seen them already. They will kill that lift and create extra drag then with inverters as well, which is essential to slow the aircraft down. If the flaps and slats are not deployed on takeoff, the aircraft won't gain altitude and crash. If it fails on landing, the aircraft will plunge into the ground and of course it will crash. In both sections of the flight, these parts enable pilots to control the aircraft and fly it safely. Takeoff and landing are the most dangerous stages of flying. I said that already, and that's why it's a very crucial part of the process. Apparently, these two parts were not deployed for that flight. We will find out why. Investigation is ongoing. As I said, we have no conclusions yet. Today, I decided to show you exactly what are these two parts and what are the functions, or what are the roles they play into taking off and landing. So for today, I hope you like this gadget report about the flaps and the slats. I hope you could visualize how the things work and why these two parts are so important. Once again, if you have any suggestions for something that you would like me to talk about in these gadget reports, please just leave a comment below. Of course, needs to be gadget related, but please no speculation about any accidents. And of course, leave a comment. What do you think? Is there anything that maybe you would add to the information that I provided in this gadget report today? Please feel free to add in the comments below. And, put a like on the video and subscribe the channel with a little click on the bell so you get a notification of a new gadget report every week. The channel has been growing. Thank you very much for that. But if you comment, if you subscribe, if you like, if you share, that helps the channel grow even more, because the YouTube algorithm will pick up all this movement in the channel and will distribute my content to more people. So please, this is a little quest from me. And before I go, I would like to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one. Bye.